Hey, what's up, guys? This is James from Adrenaline. Just figured I would go live. I need to test my live stream equipment for the idle drop. So I figured I would discuss the differences between the Lux idle, the Lux TM40, and the Shocker era. With a primary, a lot of creators have already done a difference video, but I wanted to focus on the core because the core is actually pretty different. And some people have said it's like an arrow with a screen on the side, or it's a lot like the TM40. So I wanted to kind of go over some of the differences that you'll see with the stock idle versus the stock TM40 versus the Era, especially if some of you guys are not going to be getting in on the adrenaline drop, then you can know if you want to get a cheap TM40 or move up to the idle. Um, one of the so let's talk about the obviously the Era and the idle are pretty different from the TM40 and dramatically different from the amp. You have a similar bolt design and a similar core, uh, and the way they work with the bolt guide and the bolt guide tip. Um, so let me back up. When the air is in the chamber, ready to fire, okay, and that's when if you pull the bolt tail on a Lux and a little bit comes out, you've got that air. And I wish I had a superimposed image of the bolt right now, but I don't. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can bring on a screen, which may help. Give me a sec, guys. I'm going to bring on the screen. This may help a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to bring up this. There we go. So if you can see, this is actually an idle air chamber, and it's showing that one of the things that you don't have in an Era that you do have in an idle is this enlarged air chamber. And I want to say, and this can't be overstated enough. Uh, did I say that right? Understated enough? I don't know. Um, that small changes in pneumatics make big differences. So if you say, "Oh, this thing's small, that thing's small," I'm going to go over a list of some of the things I've come up with, but all of those together actually add up to a pretty significant difference. So anyway, you're looking at the inner of this is an idle. Like I said, the shockers are straight drilled. As you know, down in here, this is the air chamber that the air flows through. It's in this area. If you've taken apart an Era, you'll note that there is a silver piece that actually comes out. So like when I laser all over body laser one, I take that out because I have to clean out some of the spray if I do the white ones. So there is a air tube that comes there, has like a little tiny bend in it. It's just another area where it could fail with O-rings. This is a fully machined out piece on the idle. It's a nice improvement. Um, but anyway, there's a sloped area back here. You've got the shuttle that goes back and forth. The shuttle actually is just drilled on the Era and on the Lux Idol and on the TM40. It's a machined piece with a higher airflow, so that's going to add a performance increase. But basically, there's an O-ring that's here and it holds all the air in. When the bolt goes forward, the air kind of goes around the edges and flows into the inside of the gun. It goes around both edges. Okay. And so you have the bolt guide inside here. And then now you have the bolt guide tip, which goes all the way to touch the ball here when the ball drops down, the bolt guide tip is touching it. So a difference between TM40 and a Lux Idol is the aftermarket bolts including ours that prevented rollback is a non-issue because the bolt guide tip itself, which doesn't move, prevents rollback. On the uh, Era, that bolt guide tip is it's got I think it's fairly round, whereas on the idle it has all this machined portholes, and that is to allow the air to go around the ball. And it's a difficult machining part, so it's no easy thing that they've done with that on the bolt guide tip. Um, but another thing that's important is on the bolt guide tip on the Era, it is a solid piece. So if you've seen pictures of it, it's a Derlin piece. It's solid all the way around, and it has these channels. I'm going to bring this back off for now. It has these channels that kind of allow air to go in a little bit and go around the tip and hit the ball. Whereas on the idle, it actually has kind of like what you'd see on a Lamborghini or Ferrari. It has these air intakes where like the mid-engine or rear-engine sports car would have air that would go into the engine. It has these air intakes that are machined in again, and it goes so the ball goes around the bolt guide tip and through it as well. Whereas on the Era, it's solid. And again, in pneumatics, little changes kind of make big results. Um, Also, the bolt travel distance has been changed a little bit. It's been improved, and that's a difference between TM40 versus idle. And the Era was changed, but in a different way, which is one reason why they don't recommend putting the idle core into an Era. You can, but it's risky because of the travel distance. The idle core could go too far in an Era and damage your insert. Um, so the so the bolt guide tip again is got that Ferrari Lamborghini style air intake, which is a pretty good way to do the air movement. And also on the air, you have an open face bolt, which is pretty standard. It's what everybody does. I know for sure while we were working on our bolt and our stuff, they were working heavily on their bolt. They went through tons and tons and tons of different bolts as far back as last year that I'm aware of. Um, we started working on, at least our involvement with the idol in November of 21. So it's been in development for a long time. But I know they've gone through tons of versions. Theirs could easily be an F16 as well because they've gone through lots of formulas. Their bolt is not an open face design. It's got a little contour in the end. It touches the ball a little, it cups the ball a little more. It has a little bit of air channeling, and then it has those outward machined elements that go back out. And it's way better than just a standard open face bolt. So you've got an improved bolt guide tip. You've got an improved bolt. You've got, I think I mentioned, the first piece I mentioned was the shuttle. It's actually a machined and higher flow. So you've got a higher flow shuttle, an improved airflow on the bolt guide tip, and I think on the bolt face. I've talked about the tube being attached, and that's a point of failure. Um, the I'm just trying to go through here. Obviously, there's the standard stuff, which I'm trying to skip. I mean, you've got the ASA, you've got the screen and all the obvious things that just jump out at you. But I wanted to talk about today to talk about the core. So on the Era and the Idol are vast improvements in my opinion over the TM40 because of the way they've redone with the bolt guide tip and the bolt. Um, it's an improvement. So compare the Era versus the I and some people have said, hey, it's I saw a review today and someone said it's a little bit louder. And that review it was. Other people have said it's quieter, but most people have said it's kind of softer, but then other people have said it's kind of in between like the old Luxe and not being squishy, being responsive versus kind of like the highest end of like, what you see with the dot guns, which are just they don't move. Um, all I know is it feels better. And most of the reviewers have said I can't tell if it's louder or if it's smoother, but it's definitely softer. So almost all these changes they've made. Now we made our own changes for different reasons, but almost all the changes they made have been to enhance both air performance, but also how it handles brittle paint. So if before the Lux was an 8.5 on brittle paint, now it's a 9.9. I mean, it's just knee drop paint. You're going to be okay with it, and all these changes have gone into that. So does the Era have a lot of those changes? Yeah, it does, but it has an open face bolt. It has an inferior bolt guide tip. It has an inferior bolt guide, has an inferior spool, and those aren't major changes. I understand. I actually think this air chamber, which helps with operating pressure, is a big thing. We noticed this in the TM40 days early on. This is where we got the major drop in operating pressure when we started kind of carving out the inside. They were seeing major benefits from doing that. So those 5 or 6 things, each a small element. Again, one small thing, and also the travel distance. Each element is individually a small thing, but together it's a lot. Especially when, like I said, in pneumatics, small differences can have a huge effect in performance, positive or negative. So And then also I'm a big proponent, as you guys know, of low friction coefficient. We will talk about that more with our bolt, and you already seen our barrels. It's a proven feet per second increase. There was independent tests with our bolt last time. Our bolt did the best. The second feet per second, the second fastest was the stock bolt. And the reason is it's got an ice coating on it. So you can say all this or that, but the ice coating is a huge element, and that is not on the Era. And I left that off. So you've got lower friction coefficient on the moving part. I don't think the can has it, but just the bolt alone, it may, but the bolt alone having it is a huge benefit. And I'm a big proponent of low friction coefficient. Um, so that's basically it. I'll go to comments. I just wanted to go over from a gun kind of. I don't call myself a gun designer, but from someone that understands this stuff a little more versus a regular content creator. Like, hey, it looks like this, it looks like that. I wanted to go over some of these changes because it doesn't seem like much. I've been in the meetings, not all of them, obviously, but I've been there. I've seen variations through the last year and a half of the bolt on the idle. It's gone through a ton of changes. I know the work that's been involved. So I wanted to kind of come on and compare it also because I work a lot with these guys and I felt bad because somebody said, oh, it's the same old thing or it's an arrow with a screen on the side. And that's unfair because I know how hard these guys worked on these parts. And some of these improvements, they just don't look like much, but you will see it actually is a significant improvement, especially if you had the guns side by side. So ours, I'll talk about it soon, not today, but ours actually has 4 unique parts on the core, but they still share the same kind of spirit and concept of a lot of the new idle stuff. And I can tell you that the idle is, and the Era, in my opinion, of the way the core operates, is superior than the TM40. And then the idle is dramatically superior than the Era because of those things I said. Again, you've got the shuttle, which has more airflow. You've got the air chamber. You've got the surface of the bolt with the ice coating, which is proven. There's some good test results on YouTube on that. You've got the bolt guide itself. You've got the bolt guide tip, which is dramatic. It's got that sports car style air intake where it goes around it and inside of it. So I think people are just like holding it up, like, look, it's the same. But from a designer standpoint and getting kind of into engineering part of it, it's actually pretty different. And those guys will never take up for themselves. And I mean, the engineers and stuff at DLX, they're not going to go online and say, oh, I worked for 6 months on this tip. But I can tell you that they've put a lot of work into it, and it's small differences, especially to a general player that doesn't really understand what's shuttle is or how even where the air operates on these guns. But I can tell you it actually adds up to a lot, and that's why you see a dramatic improvement, I think, on efficiency, velocity, which is the same thing as efficiency, I guess. It depends on if you're rotating your velocity or not. How it handles brittle paint because it's down a little less on operating pressure, which also relates to getting more pods. And I think consistency, because the more you can control the airflow versus just rushing around a big open face bolt, you've got dramatic airflow intake going around a more controlled tip with the exit, which is machined. It's not an easy thing the way they've done that machined bolt tip itself. So it's all well thought out, and I think the engineering on it is very sound. Like I said, the enlarged air chamber itself, just this one thing is a significant improvement that you don't get. And then obviously a lot of the other machine things that are parts that you kind of add on to like an Era. That's about it. I can answer any questions if anyone is just on. Generally, I'm basically wanted to test the equipment before we do our drop, but I thought I would go ahead and kind of kill two birds with one stone. If you have any questions about like ordering or anything like that on our stuff, I'll be glad to answer them now. You have a chance. You got me. I've been answering questions as they come in. Not talking about mods or anything like that today, but glad to answer anything general like, hey, how's the Premier subscribers going to work or anything like that. Otherwise, I will be sharing something soon. I'll be honest, I'm waiting on the barrel front for the drone Luxe Idol. It's a late edition. We've always done the whole body. We're real excited about the body. The CAD person, he said it's the most complicated one he's ever done. He's been doing it for over 20 years, so 2 decades, and it is. It's you'll see. But we added the barrel front kind of late in the game, and I'm waiting on that because I want to show everything at once. But it's like every day I wake up and check the email and before I go to bed. So it's going to be very, very soon. Um, Rough time for drop. I basically when I get the tip, I'll be scheduling a show, keeping in mind other things like other shows. I'm not trying to overlap with other content creators that have a regularly scheduled show. I'll try to do a time that doesn't interfere because it'll be a big show. I want to spend a lot of time going over each and every mod that we've done, and we've been working on it again since November of 21, and this is the most excited we've been about a gun. And we've done a lot of things that we've not done in the past, all the way from development of the gun to products to presentation to unboxing, dramatically different than how we've done it in the past. And I want to go over each one. So it's going to be a big show. You'll be able to come and go as you want, and then get the high points. And then we'll probably do a separate show for each element. Like, hey, here's what we did in the mech frame, um, and do a show just on that because I need to spend a decent amount of time on all of our mods. And I'm gonna on the big show. I'm just gonna go over it all and talk about pre-orders. And then I'll probably do another show for each mod just so people can go in and get about it. Some Christopher just asked if I could talk about the mech frame. No, I'm going to talk about it in the big show, but I will say, we made a post before when we made the shocker, and this was the adrenaline shocker. It was fast, and we posted a video of it just ripping, and people went nuts. And we said, "Look, we're fine, never going faster than this." And then so we made our TM40, and we kept the trigger frame and the trigger kind of the same design. And then other manufacturers kind of made it bigger, and you faced people basically walking it. As someone that controls the wire, I got so frustrated, trying to control a wire against someone that's just walking and ripping down the wire at me when I'm trying to just basically fire it on adrenaline Luxe. So we talked to a lot of people, and everybody said, said, hey, do you want to keep it traditional and stay true? And it's not like it's a cocker, but it's still more traditional, or do you want to just compete and go for it? And it was, I think, almost unanimous that everybody said, look, we want to go fast. Everybody else is going fast. You got to keep up. So we decided if we're going to do that, then we're not just going to keep up. We're going to kick ass, basically. And so that's what we did. And I'll be shocked if people don't use our mech frame in XL electronic events until they change the rules. But it's fast and it's legal. It's legal. But I'll explain what we did on the video, but then I'll have a separate show about that. I'll have a separate show about the core. We'll have, I'll tell you now, we have our own bolt guide, our own bolt guide tip, our own bolt can, our own bolt. So the whole front of the core is our parts, and they've changed, some of them dramatically, some of them a little bit. So we'll go over that, and I'll have to have another show about what we've done there with some evidence and testing, show you kind of what we've done. And we'll do that on kind of each of the mods. There's a lot we've done again. So that will be a big show, and I'll try to do another one, of each one kind of individually. That's important, at least, after that. Yeah, if you ain't first, you're last. That's right. And somebody says another arms race. I feel like, Will who's watching this, he knows he was around when we did our LCDs. I feel like we were one of the first to kind of get involved in the arms race. When we made the LED Angel, it was so great, but it was like the trigger literally traveled like an inch if you ever shot like a stock LED Angel. And we just tore that thing apart, and it was so dramatically different than the stock. And then we just kept doing that again and again. And our LCDs were the same way. We had world champions one year. They got too good. We couldn't afford them, so we switched to another team, to Ground Zero. They won the world championships with our gun. So those arms races got kind of crazy, and we got out of it. When our impulse could do well over 20 a second, and people were doing that with craziness, with mods and gloves and all kinds of things. And I'm glad it's kind of gotten back to normal. And then we pushed it again with this, but there's only so much you can do. It's not like it's like some kind of cheater gun, but we're proud of it. But we'll talk about why we did what we did, and show you some differences, and bring some stuff on screen, and explain the science behind it. We're big into that. And our bolt itself, the bolt, the core, the bolt guide tip. We posted the formula about Bernelli on that. We're doing literally like fluid dynamics science formulas on our whole front of our core with how we measured the airflow and how we routed it. And I'm excited to show that. Um, it all makes a difference. And we've been working on it. This is the longest we've worked on a gun R&D wise. So we're excited to show what we've got. I think a lot of it will stick and be used by other people down the road, but you'll get it from us first. Um, anything else? Um, we don't do deposits. We just do it all up front because honestly, we're a small outfit and I'm paying all up front. So like when I start making your gun, I'm paying for it at DLX, and I get that. They've started making these and they need paid, and so we kind of that's how we've always done it. Maybe there's a better way of doing it, but I don't think we're big enough to really front that without and pay them without getting paid back. So basically, once you order, we view it as yours, and you can cancel. A lot of people did; they got tired of waiting, and or if you don't like the design, I will say, speaking of that, if you don't like the design, we usually hold back about five. It'll sell out, I think, within a pretty quick amount of time, but we will hold some back. And if they sell out, then that'll be so if somebody gets theirs in, they say this didn't turn out how I want, I don't like it, then we're not going to redo it. We'll just take it and we'll sell it to someone else or have Will throw it on spins and wins or something and start them a fresh one. So we hold a couple back just for kind of those emergencies or if something happens and gets dropped or dented. And so sometimes at the very end, we have a couple last minute, like, hey, yeah, we actually end up having three left over. What's up, Morgan? Um, yeah, that's right, John. PayPal credit. We also take Klarna. So again, I know it's hard for some people, but you'll be able to make money on this, in my opinion, if you decide if money's a thing, buy one of ours, flip it, make a bunch of money, and then shoot a stock one. I've went over, stock's a good gun. It's really good. You'll like what we've done, but um, if push comes to shove, I think with the way it's going to sell, you'll see why when we do the show that I think you can always flip it like some Amazon stock. Retailers, I will say I'd like to do this on the live show, but I do know that Lone Wolf is getting 10 and Mason is getting 5. It's not really the only, dealers we've ever worked with. And they're both using arc anodizing who we just aren't set up with. So if for those that want to use arc, there's going to be 15 that are going to go between Mason and Lone Wolf, and they'll probably drop right around when we do. I have no clue when they're going to do theirs. They may want to wait till they sell out and try to add $50 or 100. I have no clue what they're doing, but they'll be able to use. You'll be able to use arc if you go through them. And I have no clue what their pricing is going to be, but they do have an allocation of wholesale units. I think Nick Truder's getting a couple in the UK to kind of distribute out to a couple of his buddies there. And then we may be sending a couple to Australia to our buddy down that has a great big shop down in Australia. I mostly just want him to invite me down to come stay in Australia. So I'm trying to get him hooked up. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I was talking about GZ. You guys, they had won one event, the Portland Open. And then after Ironman won with our guns, we couldn't afford them anymore because they wanted 60 guns and we gave them 12 the year before. So we said, who can we afford with 12 guns? And we went to Ground Zero, who'd only won one event. And literally they won the very first event and they just dominated that year and won everything. So that was a big year for us, obviously. And that's back when guns made a big difference. And we're trying to get back to that. And you'll see we've put a lot of science, as you'll see, I'm putting up formulas, but it's just real. We've done a lot of engineering and this is not just some machining and anodizing job. We've changed a lot of stuff, but the machining and anodizing is going to blow you away too. So we're excited. Yes, we're planning on doing some anodizing. We're just not fully up and ready and like 100% confident in it. So for the most part, we're going to use probably Outlaw and Blizzard like we have in the past. And then probably some of the later ones, we'll test and have some holdback. Yes, the price has been already disclosed. The quick ships are $21.99. If you can't wait, I will say this, I mentioned this, like if you can't wait and you're not a subscriber and you're lucky enough to get one right before it sells out, but you're number 300 in line, you could get a quick ship and then send it off and have it anodized with the way they've redone. And that's a huge improvement I made a post about that on the Era and the idol. I don't know if the air has that, but the idol, how they have, uh, red Loctite in one spot only. It used to be all over the place. All of the pins that had to be punched out are gone. All the magnets that had to be punched out are gone. So now it used to be that you re-anodize a gun, you void the warranty. I have no clue what their policy is now. I don't want to speak for them, but it's a dramatically different experience now if you re-anodize a gun like our quick ship. So you could get a quick ship and be first in line if you could get someone, especially one of the anodizers not doing our work and backlog. Um, that's a big difference also. So I didn't mention that from the idle to the TM40. And that's an improvement from someone like us that there's been more body failures over the last 5 years from anodizing problems than snake dives and core samples and all that stuff. Number one problem has been, oh, left this magnet in or, whatever. So they fixed that. And that's a big thing, especially from kind of behind the scenes, like the stuff we do. It's a big improvement. You can order more than one if you can get it. Like on the drop. I haven't decided, like, if we're gonna let people order 2 or something like that. The subscribers all have rules, and they'll have to follow that. But on the free for all in the Madhouse, I don't know. We'll probably limit it to 1, maybe 2. That's something I have to talk to the rest of the guys in the company on that. There won't be many. The way it's going, there won't be many on the public drop based on the amount of, subscribers, NFTs, Flaming Skull guys, and then elite guys that can get the 24 karat gold plated ones. And then of course the Mason and the Lone Wolf, and then a couple to the UK. There won't be a ton left over, so it'll be probably a little bit of a rush. But if you get, I know we've decided if you're a subscriber and you get one, we're going to let you fight for one if you want in the public free for all. But we are employing bot prevention. You can get on Shopify is what we use. It's like $70 a month, and it basically stops bots from checking out. So you at least be a fair fight. So we are going to be using that on the drop. So serial numbers will be tied to not an anodizing choice. Serial numbers will be tied to basically our people that have been loyal to the brand all along. So our elite guys, and there's only like 15 of those guys. They get to pick their serial number first, besides the single digits, which are all gone and spoken for. Then the Flaming Skulls get to pick, and then Premier Pro gets to pick, and so on and so forth. So like the regular ones, what's going to be left is like, I don't know, 420 or something, which actually that'll probably be taken for various reasons. But anyway, that's a good question. And yeah, you can get a subscription now. I've sold 4 NFTs this week for people that want either the rose gold or the rose looks like a mirror. It's the most T2000 one we've ever done. What we're going to do, that's a good question. So once I do the live show, the next day, so I'll do it on the evening, kind of like this. The next day, I'll start making the lists and preparing the windows. Like, okay, hey, your all's window is, day after tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. the next day. And then the Elite and Flaming Skulls guys and the NFT guys will be able to go the exact same time. And then the next subscribers will go, and then the next subscribers will go. So I got to start making the list and sending emails out. So at that point, it'll be too late. So basically the evening of the live show will be fine. And then by the middle of the night, by the time I wake up the next day, it'll be too late. So if you want to subscribe and get in or get an NFT, that's the 2 ways to get access at this point. Unless you're like right on the border of Flaming Skull, then you can buy like an SAS kit or something. But otherwise, you'll have to act before the morning after the live show. We'll go over that on that show. But yeah, that's a good question. We're still getting lots of subscribers basically every day. The subscribers, we do have enough that every subscriber right now is going to get one, plus all the NFT guys and all the Flaming Skull and Elite. And I have plenty left over. I mean, not plenty. We'll have an amount left over. I don't know, like 100 maybe. I don't know, or less. It's going down daily because, like I said, we're selling. I've sold 4 NFTs in the last week or so, and then a couple subscriptions a day. So, but even if at that pace, we'll still have. I have the feeling. Here's the thing, though. Once you guys see the live show, it may be a kind of a madhouse rush, and we'll just have to see. I can't promise that the public will have some, because I have a feeling after we show stuff on the internet and describe what we're doing, that it'll be kind of crazy that night. But I still think, and then if that's the case, if somehow there's too many, then I'll refund the subscriptions, and it'll be in order of how you got in line. We're not going to like draw straws. If you came to the show late and you're late to the game, you're going to be the one that misses out. That's only fair. Um, uh, yes, yes. I just said yes. You could do it up to the morning I wake up after the live show about the gun. Um, and then Premiere Plus. So if you're new to how this works, there'll be a bunch of anodizing patterns when we drop. You'll see it. You'll see like Galaxy and all these other ones, Thanos and different ones, and some of them will be different pricing. Like Thanos, which is done by Caustic, is more expensive. So you're going to see like, why is this one a little bit more? Well, that's because if you saw it side by side, and if you're familiar with this, you see why. But you'll see these different patterns, but then there'll also be one for like custom design, and you would check out with that one. Even if you're not a subscriber, you can check out with that one and say, "Hey, I want blue lollipops with purple splash or whatever," and we'll try to make it. If it's something we think you need a proof, we'll create a proof and try to send it to you like a mock-up. But mostly, we'll just communicate back and forth. On that one, that's a good question. There'll be a block where you describe it, and there'll be a upload section if you want to upload inspiration images or prior gun images, even if it's a cocker or whatever, and you can upload and check out. That really helps. So the more we see and the more description, the better. But usually we end up communicating a couple times, like, "Hey, is this what you want, or did you want, and this on it?" On the checkout, you'll decide between dust and polished or 3D. Some people have asked what 3D is. That is, we call it dual finish. That is, it's polish and dust combination of any kind on the gun at the same time. So, like, um, Will Rocks, who Will Royo's on here, his was polished gold on the ends and dust gold in the middle, with polished splash on the dust. So, and like a Grizzly was dust to polished, I believe, or it had polished splash on dust black. So that's a 3D dual finish. It's used a little bit more because they have to do it twice. Um, so on checkout, you'll see on the custom one, it'll be like dust, polished, or 3D. And you would upload and describe as much as you can. So that's kind of how you would do it. If you see anything about subscribers getting to choose, if you're a Premiere Pro and your pattern is unique enough, you can like request a one of one it. And what that means is like, yeah, John's Hellfire. Hellfire's it's one of my favorite 3Ds. It is in the front there where it's orange, it's polished, and then it's dust black in the middle, and then back to polish again at the back. So that's a real good, and that's kind of like one of the new cool things. We will have quick ships, which are just, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's what everybody else sells as their main pattern. Like it'll be stock collar, solid collars with some mix match parts. Some of them will be solid all the way through, and some will be mix match. It's weird. The solid all the way through is actually way harder to do. Sorry, that's blocking me a little bit. The solid all the way through is way harder to do. But the reason a lot of companies do the mix match parts is because when it's done in Asia, which is what our quick ships will be, a lot of times if you get a pewter, it's a little bit different shade. So you put two parts side by side because they're doing like 500 parts or whatever they're doing, and they don't match exactly. So if you go, pewter, black, pewter, black, pewter, you don't notice it. So that's an advantage of, that's why you see that a lot. But we're going to try to offer as a full solid pattern. And then if things don't match, we'll pull them off other guns and rebuild. We'll have enough quick ships we can try to build them to where they all match, if that makes sense. So we offer the basically Asian cheaper anodizing on the quick ships, and then all the non-quick ships are going to be US anodized and polished, which is a dramatic difference especially on the polished element. The price is exorbitant from a manufacturer standpoint to do a US based polish, which is another reason you see a lot of dust guns. But we'll have it and we'll offer it, and it'll be like a mirror. Our idol will not have like the inserts you're seeing now. We'll go over that more on the show. It'll have more of an SAS style insert. We're not going away from the SAS ever. It's one of the best things we've done. If the people that have it, they're seeing 10 feet per second increase, just drop it in on any gun. So we're never going back from that. I don't think people will copy that much because it's a pain in the ass to make. It's really, really hard. So, but we'll go more about that on the live show. But because of that, I'm only doing one insert, and it'll be a smaller one because I've had people that said they wish they could just buy one 678 SAS insert because you could downsize 4 sizes. But it'll be a smaller one, but not that small. So yeah, good question. We won't have the small bore, large bore aluminum. Um, the live show, I don't know. If you're coming in late, I'm waiting on a barrel front. We added the barrel front later in the game. I mean, not like just recently, but and we're waiting on the barrel front to come. And I don't want to piecemeal it. If you've been around, we've never done that actually. We've always dropped, bam. Um, when we did the Adrenaline LCD, we end up owning Paintball City, but when we first dropped it, we did a huge thing and dropped it all at once, and he got pissed because it was like all the traffic was our gun for a while. We didn't tease it out, which is what he'd wanted us to do, but that's just how we do it, you know. So we'll do a major drop and just talk about all at that time. So this is a good question. A lot of this is going to be on you. So like quickly on a quick ship, and then so ironically enough, the crazy ones, the 24 karat gold, the prism, the rose gold, the rhodium, and the black chrome is a mega shop. We're the only paintball company they do, and they're fast. They have tons and tons of workers, so those will be fast. The caustic ones, I don't. He's usually notoriously slow, but he's only getting a very few. I think he's only getting maybe a couple special order ones from customers. My Baba Yaga, because he's the one that can do that pattern. Other people have tried, and then Thanos. So he won't get that many. So maybe he could turn, but he's honestly, no offense to him, he's amazing, but notoriously slow. So it depends on a lot of that kind of thing, like you know where it's going and what you choose. But the quick ships will. When I'll say this, when I get everything, every part in complete from Asia to send off to anodizing, I will have at the same time fully anodized quick ship parts to build and ship. So that's why they're called quick ship. So because they're coming in anodized from Asia versus machined from Asia. So if that makes any sense. So they'll be much faster. But like the kind of our VIPs that have like single digit serial numbers will be, you know, very quick turnaround. Polar grizzlies and black grizzlies. I don't know if I was going to talk about this yet, but this is true. So we're having just a couple. We're not doing like all the athletes like we did last time. We're just doing a couple kind of signature series, traditional ones. Most of it's people on our team, but we are bringing back the grizzly, and we're adding a polar grizzly, which is white and blood. And I'm excited about that. We've been working on it, and so you heard it here first. But that's going to be both of those will be hot items, and those will be options like so again, and you're not going to be in a rush. If you're a subscriber, you get on, you got your 24-hour window, you have 24 hours before the next group gets on. So like you're not going to be in a crazy rush. So you can look around at collars. You don't have to like, oh, just pick one and go. So you'll see there'll be a grizzly and a polar grizzly, and it may not have like an image done because you're going to have, if you order one early, you're going to have the first one that's done. You know, your picture will be there for later. But there'll be a description of it. So you have time to kind of browse around. Many of the old, like you'll see probably for the regular grizzly, we'll use the TM40 grizzly as an example, but the polar will probably have a logo, adrenaline logo, and it'll describe it. You have to use your imagination. So we're excited about that because the white effect is pretty uncommon. If you look at the Eric Dearman #1 Stunna, it had dust silver last year that was so light it looked white, and that's kind of like, you know, because you can't anodize white, that's kind of like the effect you'll have, and that's a good example if you look at that. Or like the white era, so a shocker era that's in white right now, that's a good example. They call it white, but it's just a certain way of doing a clear. If you got in Flaming Skull status today, you will get in and be able to get a prism. Yes. It's basically the morning after. If you just joined, it's the morning after I wake up after the big show where I'll be making the list and say who's who. In fact, it'll be somewhat automated, but at some point I have to cut it off. But it'll be you'll get an email. Hey, you're a member of the Elite VIP tier, or you're a member of the Flaming Skull VIP tier. Here's what you can get, and you'll be able to access a locked section of the website that you have to log in. And once you log in, it'll say, okay, yeah, you passed the credentials. Here's what you can order. And so like a 24 karat gold adrenaline idol would be limited to like 14 dudes. And they're the only ones you can see it, but they're the only ones that's probably going to be able to order it. You may not even be able to see it, but I think you'll be able to see it. So yeah, it's not too late if you just made Flaming Skull to get Prism. Other people that are also subscribers have said, "Hey, can I get like a Prism and a Grizzly?" Well, yeah, because you earned one from being a subscriber and one from being a Flaming Skull. So like you earned it in two different ways. So I'm not going to punish you. So yes, the answer is you can get one Prism and one Grizzly in that example. That's right. It was. Uh, and there'll be a new stunner, but that silver white is a good example. Um, so on the custom anodizing, again, you can't specify the vendor unless it's one of the three that we use, which is caustic, which is a significant upcharge, and I'll end up saying, hey, it's going to be $300 more, PayPal me, or Outlaw or Blizzard, and then maybe later on, if I feel like we're up to it, we'll maybe offer ourselves, but probably not. We're still, this is a big item. You don't want to have us learning on your gun yet, I don't think. But if you want to use ARC, I do know that the very few that Mason is getting and the very few that Lone Wolf is getting, they're using ARC. So you can reach out to those two guys and say, hey, I want one of those 10 or one of those 5. What's it take? Because they're getting theirs done in ARC and they're a clean slate. They're getting raw bodies, having them anodized, send them back to us. So it's not like they're getting a gun and stripping it. It'll be factory anodized through them. They're getting raw bodies. So it's the only one that I know of. Apocalypse. Apocalypse Now will be offered. That's one of the ones we'll show. And so that's a good example. So you'll probably see like 200 Adrenaline Idol products when you go through, and just take your time. Unless it's the public drop. If it's the public drop, by then you'll see them on the site. You just won't be able to order yet and get in mind what you want. But the subscribers and the NFT guys and stuff, you'll have time. Just scroll through and you'll see like, oh, here's an Apocalypse Now, an Adrenaline Shocker. And you just got to use your imagination what that's going to look like on the idol. Yes. No, Premiere Plus. No, you only get one gun. Sorry. Premiere Pro can get 2. Premiere Plus, you get one gun. So you could get a Quick Ship or a Grizzly, unless you all also qualified in some other way, like Flaming Skull. Because you don't have to necessarily get a Prism. You can say, okay, I don't want a Prism. I want a Quick Ship and a Grizzly. And that's fine because you've earned the Flaming Skull status. You've been a loyal customer since Shockers, if you're there. Powerhouse regulator, our plan is to probably do this. I don't know if you've seen the recent, press releases and stuff, but basically Infamous is somewhat, kind of being the premier owner and calling the shots with Powerhouse now. So assuming they still want to work with us, because we dealt obviously with Powerhouse directly in the past. So I'll probably talk to Travis at the summit. We'll be at the summit, which is like a vendor dealer thing, and just make sure he still wants to work with us. And if he does, then yeah, we'll make it. It'll look awesome on the regulator. And I know they have something cool they're dropping at Summit. So stay tuned to that for that. It's something that we would be using if we end up doing it. So if you're a pro, yes. So yes, if you're a pro subscriber, you get 2 guns instead of 1. You can get a Quick Ship and a Grizzly, and yes, that qualifies. So yeah, good question. Yes, and so another example, if you're a pro and you have an NFT, you get the 2 pro and then the 1 NFT. And so like, if you're not any of these things, it's like, damn, there's not going to be hardly anything left. Well, these guys, so we will make a gun every 3 years. So things get really dry and quiet around here for, 3 years. So these subscriptions and these NFTs and other things that helps kind of support us and keep us going. So that's why we're kind of like hooking these people up as much as we can, because I last sold a TM40. So the last time I sold a gun, besides a couple eras that we had lasered, was May of 22. So we're going on 2 years now, the last time I sold a gun, and we still have overhead and people to pay and stuff. So things like subscriptions and NFTs and stuff that really help support us. So that's why we're trying to give back as much as we can. So it's just not crickets every 3, sell, and then quiet for 3 years. So they've earned it. And especially the VIP tiers, like an elite person is someone that's spent, basically 5 digits in spend with Adrenaline lifetime, which is significant. I'm shocked that we have many people as we do in that category. So those guys have earned it. They've been with us you can't even just buy just a shocker and just a Lux and have that. They had to buy multiple guns in every single, uh, release to be at the 10 grand limit or 10 grand threshold. So appreciate those guys. Um, we're going to be showing them real soon. If you tuned in late, I'm waiting on the barrel front. So we have machine barrel front. It matches the concept of the body, and just waiting on that. And we're rocking like right after, basically. Once we get that, we just have to check a couple things and then schedule it basically to go live to where we're not interfering. Like so, for instance, tonight an hour Paintball Room My Life is going to go live. Well, he's got tons of subscribers. Shoot, we watch almost every episode or stream, whatever you call it. So I don't want to go at the same time. I'm not going to go on Thursday night at 7, for instance. So if it's done at Wednesday, maybe I'll go on a Friday or who knows. We'll see. Usually, I think probably like Tuesdays is real good, but we just see if it comes in on a Wednesday morning. I'm not waiting a week. Um, uh, Marcus is one of the guys that's going to be doing some anodizing, so you'll see it and you'll hate me when you go to polish it. So you just wait. You won't like me. Let's see. Yes, the barrel is done up to maybe 3 inches, something like that. I've just seen renderings and CAD and stuff, but I'm just guessing. The very front, it doesn't just drop off a huge cliff at the front of the barrel. So I think we're pretty good artistically. So we wanted to kind of phase out into like normal kind of barrel dimensions, if that makes any sense. Otherwise, it would be like stuff going on, and then bam. So anyway, it kind of phases out into normal barrel dimensions, which is the porting. So on NFT, if you own an NFT, you get rose gold, which is badass. If you've seen it, it's actually plated just like 24 karat gold. I actually think I spend almost the same amount, but discounted the rose gold just because it's just not as cool. But and I don't, I think I'm wrong on that, because whenever I get my invoices, it has market price gold 24 karat, market price rhodium, and I told John, who's up on the screen, I said, you're not really custom unless your quotes are having market price on the indexes of how much rhodium is trading for, and you're not getting billed on the daily market rate, then you're not really true custom, is what I was joking. But yeah, so rhodium and gold, the 24 karat gold is got the ounce quote. So rose gold's probably done a little bit different. But in any event, NFT is rose gold, rhodium, which is super expensive. And it's used in jewelry a lot. And that's the mirror stuff, or black chrome, which looks like kind of like a, if you've seen some sports cars have black chrome wheels, it's like that. This answer is based on you guys. So there's only so many NFT holders. So like the rose gold, black chrome, and stuff like that, there won't be a large volume of those because there's not a lot of owners out there. The prisms, when I first made Flaming Skull, we made our drill and shocker, I'm like, I wonder if we'll ever get this. Now, in our third release, we've got lots of Flaming Skull people. So maybe 50, something like that. So will all 50 get a prism? I don't know. If they do, they're entitled to it. And I feel like I thought about like, hey, do we do a drawing? Do we limit this? But then I thought, well, look, you've earned it. You're going to pay for it. Like, and there's still only a few of our guns on the whole planet. So that's not like you're going to run into a bunch of prisms at the local field. So if there's 50 in the world, that's the worst case scenario. The 24 karat gold, I think there's like 14 eligible people, and that's worldwide. And some of them are not in the United States. So most of them, almost any pattern you pick, you're not going to run into people at the local field, with just a few hundred guns worldwide. But we'll see what everybody gets. So I don't know the answer to that. I'm not limited, is the answer, though. If you're eligible, then you're allowed to get it. That's what we've decided. So I think, because I almost limited, but another thing is, after selling TM40s, I had people message me like, oh, I didn't make it this gun, but I finally hit Flaming Skull after I bought this TM40. It's my third one. I'm finally Flaming Skull. I'm excited. Next gun, I'll finally get Prism. And that would be like a major dick move to be like, okay, yeah, you barely made it, but you're now eligible because we raised the threshold or whatever. So those guys got it. They're excited. We're going to let them, they earned it. If they want it, they can get it. And honestly, it's a fast turnaround product for us because of the outfit is so big. It was very, very hard getting the door. I had to do all kinds of technical and engineering drawings and submissive, and then have conference calls. Back then, I think it was, COVID but we did it virtually. But it was really hard to get in the door, and that's why, in my opinion, our Prism is way better than what you see from other people because the process involved, like it doesn't flake. People that have it, it's night and day on process and quality control and how they're doing it. It's good stuff. Um, No, Premiere Pro gets 2 guaranteed. We still have plenty at the current status to honor that because not everybody's Premiere Pro. A lot of people are Premiere Plus, because you get the same box. So Premiere Pro, what do you get? You get to pick your serial number in order. You get one of one. Your anodizing, but the main thing is you get 2 guns and you get an earlier window. So Premiere Pro is going to get an order a day before Premiere Plus. What does that mean? Well, it means we're going to make them in order. So it may end up being 3 weeks on delivery time difference, only a day in order difference, if that makes any sense. Because we're going to build it first. We're building it as the way it comes in, except for the single digit serial numbers. Did you change the marker case? I don't know. Should I tell you guys this stuff? We did. I'm not going to show it to you, but we have our own case, and we're excited about it. It's not like the assassin case and the shocker, where it's like a major collector item. It's more practical, like you're going to take it to the field. Not that you can't take our shocker case to the field, but I feel like that one was like we see assassins in the movies. They're opening it up, and that was badass. This one's a little more practical, but still cool, and I think you guys are going to like it. John has seen it. John, what do you think of our case designs and the unboxing experience? He's seen that as one of our volunteers, and he was pretty blown away. And we put a lot of effort into it. I'll say this on the unboxing experience. I had so many people tell me on this gun, hey, this is my first adrenaline experience. What do I do? I want to subscribe. How do I get in? I'm new to you guys. And so while we have people that are elite members that have had, 10, 20, 50 Patrick adrenalines, some people, this is their first time, their first experience with adrenaline, and maybe their only one. So we've bumped up our whole experience. And like I said, our unboxing experience, our ownership experience for those guys. I want to make it special. Maybe the only gun adrenaline they'll ever own. So I kind of wanted to make it nice. And even if it's just the first of many, I wanted to make it special. So we really bumped that up. Is it the best packaging in paintball ever? Yeah. I mean, it is. If you think I'm lying, ask me in a week. So why do we do that again? Because I wanted to, one, reward the loyal people, and a lot of our stuff, somebody may throw away packaging, and some people are just going to keep it as like, collectors. But for the people that have never bought a adrenaline before, we wanted to make it kind of like, hey, this is a cool experience. It's like, I'll never own a Ferrari, but I know how, like, if you buy a Ferrari, you get certain treatment, and I would kind of want to do that a little bit. So it's a cool experience, I think, for some of these people that have messaged me like, hey, I'm excited. It's my first ever one. So, we tried to bump up a lot of that stuff, and it's nice. And what does that give us? Well, it's for you guys, right? Because like if I spend $15 on packaging on a $2,200 gun, or if I spend $0 on packaging and it goes in the plastic bag that I get from DLX, that's $15 more a gun I make. So, hundreds of guns, it really adds up. So it's not a good financial decision to do that, but it's badass, and we don't make a lot of decisions with our pockets, which is good. That's probably why we get the love. Like, look, we've got so many people that are waiting to buy, and you haven't seen it. You don't know any mods, and you don't know the looks of it yet. I know I could sell it with just right now and probably sell hundreds without even the description. And that's because you guys have faith in us, because we've been doing it since '97. And so we're not going to let you down. That's a lot of pressure for us. So we take that in and we use that like, hey, when we make a decision, sometimes like we go this way or that way, and it's sometimes a money decision. Usually we go this way because of the pressure. Like, you can only do that once, and then nobody will ever trust me again. So you're buying serial numbers sight unseen and things like that. It's because we've earned it, I think, in the past. And that, well, you may not like it, but you'll see the work that was involved and the effort put in. And so we're trying not to let anybody down. And I think there'll be some people don't like it. This is a given, but generally you'll see the effort that went into it. Yeah, it's crazy. I still have 2 of the old shocker cases in my garage. One's mine and one's Garrett. And the other day, Garrett was like, I need to sell mine. Those things are like $100 on eBay now. Um, but yeah, the new stuff is good. It's more practical. Like I said, you can fly with it and it not put you overweight at Spirit or Legion or something like that. Um, but it's nice. And again, John has seen I'm calling it our unboxing experience. It's our uh, just the whole presentation, ownership presentations. Again, especially for new owners. But you may get a pro that buys it and just throws it all away. But I guarantee you, some of these collectors are going to like really like they're going to open it and use it. Maybe somebody will do an unopened one. I don't know. But we put a lot of effort into it. You'll see right away, and a lot of money. I mean, money that we won't recoup that we didn't have to put into it, if that makes any sense, on little things. But it's why, in my opinion, we always have the best stuff. We're making decisions based on feedback and what if basically you and your teammates hit the lottery and started a company, not that we're lottery winners, we you probably operate it kind of like how we are. You know what I mean? And we don't have like investors or things like that. So we're just trying to operate it kind of like a player would, I guess. And sometimes people hate us for that because we're also kind of irreverent, I guess you could say. We'll say things online. I had someone say that I wasn't CEO enough when I was communicating with them because I was talking to them more like a buddy, and I just said that ain't us. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna, we're not. Um, that's just not how we are. I guess we're a bunch of rednecks that are really good with paintball guns, so we're just gonna be us. We're not. We don't have an HR department or a PR department. So, but you're gonna like it. Non-adrenaline private. Yes, we got you, buddy. It's not the same experience. This one is over the top. So I feel like our last experience is good. Look, I paid $50 per case for the shocker case before I spent an hour lasering all of them. 25 minutes of the stock, but some of them, like Brandon Ungers, was over an hour to laser his pattern. So I spend 7 hours to do 35 SAS inserts. So what is that? 3 sets, 7 hours. It's nuts. So that makes it to where people don't want to copy us. Like this one is be very hard to copy once you see it because it'll be outrageously expensive on machine time. Where we can absorb that and we don't care. But if somebody that's going to try to make a lot of them, it's not going to be worth them their time on machine time. So this one will be much harder to copy going forward. Um, We are not making an era. If you tune in late, we're gonna be showing the idle real soon. We're waiting on the barrel front. We are not making an era. Um, I found that it's much easier to take the high end gun, which is like the idle in this case, and make it super great. Um, Hopefully, in our opinion, try to make it the best on the planet at a higher price point than taking a lower value item like an $800 gun, making it a $1,500 gun, and it's just competing with those stock versions of those other guns. So for us, it's like we're better off taking instead of taking a Camaro or a Dodge and going all Mopar on it, we're better off, starting at like, the Ferrari or what Lamborghini kind of level is what you'd say. But so we're not planning on making an error for that reason, just because, I mean, our shocker sold great, don't get me wrong, but it just, we take a lot of pride in our product and we want like, when we had our LED and our LCD, like our LED was out, it was the best gun on the planet. Nobody questioned it. Like if you didn't think our LED was the best gun on the planet, you weren't alive back then. It was the best by far. Then when the LCD came out, it was us and Cobra, and that was it. Like I don't care if anybody else thinks they had the best. It was either us or Cobra, which was our last like true competitor that did things the way we do now. And while I'm glad they're gone, it was kind of fun back then. We were friends with them, and it was good rivalry because they would do the same stuff we're doing. I mean, I'm running literally fluid dynamics science on bolt flow, and they would do that kind of stuff too. It wasn't just like, hey, we're gonna machine this and rock it. So, but I want to get. We like having what we think is the best gun on the planet. So it was hard for the shocker because it really wasn't, but it was awesome. It was right up there with like a Luxe Ice or whatever it was at the time, and the Planet guns and stuff. But we like taking a higher level gun and going crazy on it. It's kind of it's more our thing. You had a Cobra and a Dren. So, I mean, that was just baller status back then, having both. And it's funny, those our Drilling Angels right now are like $3 grand today's time. It's funny, but then again, tournaments paid 50 grand for first back then. So that they call it the golden era, if you weren't around then. But our price now, if you took our LCD with only one insert, and some people got 5 inserts because you buy boomsticks and it does the match. One insert, it was like just under 3 grand. 2 inserts, it was over 3 grand in today's time. So it's crazy. But this is, it's a good evolution, and I think this one is our best. I'm not joking; it's our best gun we've ever made. And you think that, well, okay, timeline wise, it's the latest and greatest, but it's the most excited we are for a release, except for the LED. We were real excited for the LED. I'll do a whole show on that one time, but we were unauthorized, and WDP didn't want us to do it. They were only working with Planet, which was just mostly just light milling and anodizing, and they wouldn't let us in the door. And so we just bought a bunch randomly and did it ourselves. And that release, I was super excited. And after they saw it, they said, you can do whatever you want, let us in the door. So, and I posted today, they started copying us and we left the door. We came out with the feather the next batch, and like 2 months later, and they knew we were doing the feather. And like 2 months later, the fly came out. It was identical. And then they'd already copied one of our trigger frame ideas to go to double trigger. So we were like, okay, we're done with this. You're not paying us for R&D. And so we have a really good relationship with Luxe, and we work really good with them. So I'm glad. That's one of the reasons we stick with them. I can tell them stuff and know that it's not going to immediately all come out on the next version. I did ask this. So in November 21, we met about what is now the Idol, and I brought up the Impulse. And one of the guys in the meeting was excited about it, and then the other guys was like, look, we'll sell all the adrenalines, but we won't sell the rest. And you can't make 400 guns on a platform. They have to sell thousands of guns. So I tried. It did not work. I think we could do a lot with it. We know poppets. The Angel was a poppet, and we know a lot about those. We do nothing about like cockers. I'd hand you a cocker to just break immediately, but I think we could do good with it. But we tried, and it just it was a no-go for now, at least. Well, maybe we'll try next time we meet if we do again. It's funny, every time we do a gun, I don't know if we can do better. This gun is anything we've ever come up with, and our bolt design is something we came up with on the LCD. We were going to do our next Angel, and we never did. But like we've dumped everything we can into this gun, so I don't know, what we'll come up with. I know to do another one in the future, but hopefully we'll come up with something. We always tend to. A buddy on my team in 1989, 90. He wanted a 68 special, and I was there when he told his mom he wanted it for Christmas, and he said, paintball guns will never get any better than this 68 special because it fires as fast as you can pull the trigger, Mom. Like, as fast as you can pull the trigger, it fires. This is the pinnacle. It'll never get better. Buy this for me for Christmas. I'll never ask for another one again. I believed him. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Fast as you can pull the trigger. So we always think that, man, we can't really improve on this anymore, but then in 3 years or 4 years from now, probably, we'll come up with hopefully something. We tend to do that. Yeah. So I think we could sell, but again, I don't know how much outside of like a really souped up adrenaline Impulse like the stock one would sell. That's the fear. So, contact your local Shocker DLX dealer and have them push and ask for it. Or if you know someone at the company, ask them and should keep pushing. If they make one, we're making one. I guarantee it. I would like to make a poppet. I think there's a lot we could do that, we had years and years of making badass poppets. So, but it is what it is. We're excited. This gun is so superior. A lot of that is, as much as I want one, as much as you guys want one, it's probably more of like, affinity for things of the past and things like that. Cause this gun is going to be the Idol superior in every way. And that's the issue, right? Like, how many can you sell based on nostalgia or whatever you want to call it? And I'm serious. It is better than we can make with an Impulse and a poppet. Because it used to be like an efficiency thing. Well, now, these are a stupid amount of pods you're going to get out of this gun. So it's really got the best of both worlds on both of it. And the feedback is good. It's just goes a poppet. So we're excited about it. We don't adrenalize guns anymore. We used to. In fact, on our LEDs, the first one we made, like 20% of them were, because we were buying unauthorized stock black Angels and then cutting on them. So it was really easy to do customers. We would rip them down and do the exact same thing. We used to call it adrenalize, and they would look like a factory one. And then we would also offer like an adrenalize, like all the mods without the looks. But yeah, we don't really do that anymore. But we are making a kit, I'll say, and I'll go up more on the main show of our front core. The 4 parts. You'll be able to buy that aftermarket for a stock idle. We don't have a lot of them coming, and I think they'll sell pretty quickly. But we're not offering like an in-house adrenalization. But we used to do that. Yeah, we didn't make many LEDs. I don't know. I mean, some of these Angel guys in the Angel Owners group probably know better than us, but I want to say like I don't know, less than 100, maybe 50, which for us back then that was a ton. We were 20, something like that. Just kids. I mean, we knew what we were doing. Obviously, you see the gun, but we were young, so like to buy those, and turn around and tear them apart and redo them, it was crazy. And after the fact, like you know, someone said, I'll say this, like I saw someone say these aftermarket guys, like if it was the mods they were doing was so good, they would just put it on the stock one. And so if they're not putting on a stock one, it's probably like, what Adrenaline's doing is probably not any good. Well, I can tell you, like, just because it's not a stock, I mean, like the smartest guys in the world don't always earn at the factory. And I'm not saying they're not smart. They are. They are. They're brilliant geniuses, but we could come up with stuff too. So, and it makes me think of that. The LED, we got in a fight with the guy that invented the Angel, John Rice, over the hammer. He said can't use a stainless steel hammer. You got to use brass, and we wanted to use brass. We wanted to use stainless steel because every time I opened my daggone breech, there'd be brass shavings, and as a player, I'm like, what the fuck, So we wanted to go stainless steel, and he said, well, if the ram gets out of bent a little bit, then it'll go through the body and just break through and just grind away the body, and it'll be a disaster. And I know it'll happen, so we use brass on purpose so that it'll shave away in the body and prevent that. Well, we went with stainless steel, and 25 years later, I've never seen an Adrenaline Angel LED with like a hole in the side of the body. Okay, so just because he thought that, he was not right. But so it's possible and a lot of times we come up with mods that are just too damn expensive to do on a production gun. And there's things we're doing on this one that just doesn't make financial sense to do on a bulk run. But if you are, one of our customers and you're willing to wait a few months and pay extra money, we can do it and spend the extra money, and it makes financial sense. So a lot of it is just dollars and cents on, how could you even do all these mods on a bulk run? You definitely couldn't do the machining because the runtime is just astronomical on our stuff versus like a stock one. And that's, people sometimes say the stock ones are plain. Well, one, they're clean. That's a nice, a lot of players, especially pros, like a clean gun, wipe down easy. But a lot of it's also, it run up the cost if you tried to do a bunch of machine time, so the machine time really adds a lot to the cost. And ours on the TM40 was crazy, right? I mean, like that tri-mid, we call it, the pyramid design, was a lot of machine time, especially on the barrel when all barrels have been plain before. And this one blows it out of the water. It's pretty crazy, and you'll see. We're excited about it. Yeah, LEDs there's not many of those. It's like I said, the least we've made, except feathers. I think we only made like 40 feathers. And then, like I said, shortly after that, we decided to switch from WDP because they came out with one from our idea. And so that was our last gun we made on an Angel, but there's only like maybe 40 of those. All right, so I appreciate everybody tuning in. I was literally just wanted to test this technology and make sure I could do the screen shares and the cameras and stuff for a drop. But in the first, if you just tuned in and you want to learn about the differences between the idle and the Era and the TM40 on a core basis, we talked about things. I brought this on screen, not from the exterior, like, hey, look at the outside, but like what's going on pneumatically. I like that word, right? Pneumatically. What's going on pneumatically inside of them. We covered that in the first 20, 25 minutes or so. And then I got off track on idle stuff. But it's all good. So anyway, if there's no more questions, yes, sir. Oh, Will's always one of our favorite dudes. I'm excited. I'm going to be winning one of his spins and wins soon. I think this weekend, hopefully, they spin it. I bought me a ticket, and I'm going to get one of the Thanos back. That's what I'm going for. was one of my favorite anodizing patterns, which we're going to offer on the idle, and it's one of the more expensive ones we do, but it's definitely one of the coolest. All right. So anybody has any questions, you can always hit us up. We've been monitoring, the Facebook and Instagram and the emails and all that stuff. Otherwise, the next time you see a video, it will be exciting and you want to tune in. And I will say this, watch the whole damn thing, because we're going to talk about some big stuff in the beginning and you're going to be like, okay, I'm sold, and go have dinner. You're going to miss some of the cool stuff because we changed a lot and we're excited about it. And it's the most excited I've been about one. Again, it probably aside from the LED, which was just from the experience of it. We do not build angels anymore. We don't even have parts anymore. We used to. At one point, Chad, our main tech, and Chris from Cobra were the only two master techs in the United States. Like we go to World Cup, and you talk about relationship, they'd be sitting side by side, and so it was like our enemy rival. But they worked the tech booth side by side the whole daggone cup. And I would be in the what's it called? Somebody help me. The Angel Heaven. Yeah, the Heaven. If you're old enough to be around that place was awesome. So I couldn't work on them, so I'd be inside the Heaven fruit. Anyway, the colors are on the site now. A lot of them are, but they're hidden. So they're locked. You can't don't go looking for them. You're not going to find them. But basically, it is a lot of the old stuff. And then, if someone's done one that we like. So there was plenty of TM40s that someone did that we didn't offer. They designed it, and we're going to steal it. So in the future going forward, if you want to prevent that, as a Premiere Pro, you can do that. But there's a couple ideas that we really liked that we're going to offer. And, it's a no-brainer because they were just badass. So we appreciate you guys coming up with creative on that. So anyway, we've added most of them. I've got a few more to add. And then a lot of it is technical, locking stuff down. It's actually pretty complicated to have a section for subscribers, a section for NFTs, and a section for, the Flaming Skull guys and stuff like that. But we've got it all tested and it's ready to go. Once the barrel comes in, we're gonna dump this on you guys. It should be very, very soon. Okay, so that's about it. I'm gonna hop off here. If you have any questions, just shoot us an email or a message on internet, Facebook, social media. We're usually watching that stuff, and we'll try to help you out. I missed some of these, but I'll try to go back on Facebook and answer some of these, or YouTube, or whatever you're on, and answer these as well. Okay, well, I am ready as well, my friend. So I can't wait. So I'll say this: we only get to do this, once every 3 years or so, 3.5 years, and so we started design in November of 21. We had some ideas back then that I just want to talk about then, and truly, one reason our stuff's so good is because we're all so OCD about it. And I lay in bed at night thinking about some of this stuff, and I just can't wait to talk about it and show it. And some of the stuff I'm just so excited that we just want to show as well. We've been holding it in as long as we can, and that's why I showed John some stuff, because I just wanted to show some people some of the things we're doing. But he's not seen the body. But in any event, we're ready as well, and we're excited, and because we're into it and we're excited too, I think you get a good product, because our egos are on the line, and our pride and our pressure of making you happy, living up to expectations, or whatever you want to call it. So we try hard, and I think we did a good job. So, all right, guys. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. Next time will be the actual live show. Again, if you have time, once I announce it, try to tell everyone, you're going to be out of pocket for a while, and stay for the whole show, because we're going to be talking about a lot of different mods, and some of it's going to be scientific and stuff, but I'm also going to kind of explain it in a more general way too. So it's, it all makes sense. All right. So peace out. Love you guys. See ya.